In the stillness, we find wisdom.
In reflection, we find growth.
Welcome to Soulful Reflections, conversations for the soul,
and lessons for life.
Whether you're searching for personal growth,
A little inspiration, or finding peace in the chaos.
you have come to the right place.
I'm Katharina,
And I'm Peter Gay,
and together,
we will explore life's beauty.
challenges and everything in between.
Let's begin this beautiful journey.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Soulful Reflections. I'm Katharina,
And I'm Peter Gay.
and this is the podcast where conversations happen for the soul and lessons for life.
Definitely.
Yes. So today we'll be speaking about healing and forgiveness. Two words that sound beautiful, but can be really heavy depending on
sure.
how deeply hurt you have been. Because the truth is, healing is not always easy, and forgiveness is not always that simple.
Preach, sister.
So today's conversation, we're going to unpack some information. We're going to reflect, release, and help us all to be able to find some peace again.
Yeah.
So for today's episode, we are joined by a special guest, a psychologist,
Yes.
none other than Mistress Carole Joseph. Thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
And without further ado, I'll go ahead and let Miss Joseph introduce herself. Tell us a little bit more about herself.
Well, as stated, I'm Carole Joseph.
Doctor.
I'm Dr.
Let's not forget that. Doctor.
Dr. Carole Joseph. I have been a psychologist for more than 20 years.
Nice.
I'm from Dominica, the beautiful island of Dominica, and I have been living on St. Martin for the last 7 years.
Okay.
So here I practice as a psychologist. I'm also a Christian, so I try my best to be able to work with the people within my population, my
Right.
congregation, so that we could get healing. Because
Yes.
that is important,
Love
you know. Too often we think about just the spiritual aspect, but we also have to think about the whole man,
Come
you
on.
know, and that is very, very important.
I could not agree more.
Yeah.
Could not agree more. So we're going to just go ahead and jump into the conversation for
Of
today.
course.
So from a psychological perspective,
Mhm.
what happens to us internally when we experience deep emotional hurt?
Well, emotional hurt. When we experience emotional hurt, we're not just talking about the hurt. We're talking about grief. Because we often think about, okay, that's the next phase
Right.
that I'm hurting, but I hurt because I loved. So if I love you, there is an attachment with you, I am going to experience hurt. Yeah, and as a consequence, then you have healing. You understand? But what happens to us is that the whole mind is being influenced. And what forms the whole man? You have the body, the physical aspect of
Yeah.
it. You have the psychological part of it. So yes, your mind is out of place. You cannot concentrate.
Wow.
You cannot think clearly.
So true.
You know, you become very tearful. You have difficulty sleeping. You know, so you have different dips because you could sleep too much, or you do not sleep, or you could
Wow.
eat too much, or you do not eat. You know,
Yeah.
you feel hopeless, you feel helpless, functioning. So functionality is what takes place during that time. Am I able to function to do my daily activities? Are you able to go to work? Are you able to take care of yourself? Are you able to take care of the kids? Are you able to even get out of bed?
Wow.
You know, so everything is basically
I don't feel we're going to need a part two. Continue.
everything is basically influenced
Yeah.
because of the grief, the loss.
Wow.
I lost something that was vulnerable. But guess what? Too often we talk about grief as death. No. Grief is because something that was valuable to me was lost.
Yeah.
I lost something vulnerable. Yes, Peter Gay.
Okay, so so this is interesting for me. So even with like an like a deep emotional hurt, You're saying that grief is it. So, like, let somebody betray you, as an
Yes,
example.
that's
So you're saying
grief.
that's grief.
That is grief. Anything that
I
I
never looked at
hold
it.
dear,
Everything.
anything. Let's go simple. A
Yeah.
jewelry. My grandmother left an earring for me, and then she passed.
Yes.
I'm going to grieve because I associated that earring to my grandmother.
Yeah.
So I am going to feel as a result of that. I'm going to experience the hurt. I'm going to probably that helped me to cope with the death. So every time I saw the earring, I played with it, you know? But then now the earring is not there. So the realization that Granny is not there, it becomes a reality. And how do I deal with that process? You understand? So then we go even further. You have a loved one, you have a job. So we have what we call downward drift. I had this job, I received a certain amount of money, I lived a certain way, and then you lost the job.
Yeah.
What happens? You have to grieve because there was this routine whereby you went to work every day. You no longer do that. You're unable to pay your bills. So you are going to grieve, and as of the result of the grief, you're going to feel loss. And
Okay.
you have the emotional state happening there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that. So let's say, in the sense of now, like, any relationship, friendship, husband, wife, whatever, but words are said, right? And it hurts you. What
You're
are
going
you,
to
what are,
grieve.
right? So what are you grieving?
Trust, betrayal. I did not expect the person to respond that way. I thought you would take my thoughts and my emotion into consideration. You did not. And then there is this sense of betrayal that you no longer trust the person. The person did something and they did not tell you. For some time, you're going to grieve that I expected them to do a certain thing. But guess what? Grief takes different stages. So that's how you're going to know. Look at this. You have denial. I cannot believe that Peter Gay did that. That's the first stage or one of the stages.
Okay.
Then
No,
you
yeah,
have
okay.
bargaining. But if Peter Gay had done this differently, if I had said that, maybe Peter Gay would not have done this. You understand? You have sadness. You cry about it because of the trust issues that happen. You probably had difficulty sleeping that night. You probably could not eat, or you find yourself eating much more chocolates. We love our little chocolates and sweet. I love cheesecake. So you
Me
feel
too.
for the
Likewise.
cheesecake. Likewise, eh? My said clocket.
Right.
So then you find you
Yeah.
have that, then you feel hopeless because it's like, what can you do about this situation? Helpless. You understand? So you go through all these, then you have acceptance. So you have 5 stages of grief. You understand? It is not linear, meaning that you go from one to the next to the next. It's basically like a roller coaster. So at one point you might say, Peter Gay did this, and then they say, oh, God knows best, you know. And another time you're angry at
That is
Peter
so
Gay because you're
true.
like, but why did she do it? I thought she would have done all these years we've
That's
been
so
together.
true.
And you get me. So it's like you're constantly within that range. But after a while, through communication, which is essential, then you realize the person explain, they have to reinforce that I didn't mean to hurt you, I was not aware. And then the brain, gets a bit forgiving about the situation. And then eventually, baby steps, you get back there again, probably not in a month time, probably it takes a while to regain that trust. Or you might trust, but not at the same way.
Yes.
You understand? So then you create a new normal, what we call a new normal within the dynamics. So there is trust, but something has been robbed away. Or you trust, but at a different level, a different dimension, etc.
Wow.
Yes, Peter Gate?
No, no, no. It's just it's deep. It's deep. No, 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 Kathy, skip it. No, no, no. It's deep. It's deep. I'm here. I'm taking it in. I'm taking it all in, and then like you're just like going over stuff that maybe you've experienced, and I just like thinking like, man,
So,
dealt with a lot of
loss,
grief.
loss, yeah. We grieve because we loved. So once you love and there
We
is
should stop loving.
connection and there's
Joking.
attachment, no, but God
Yeah,
didn't
connection.
make
I
us
know,
to
I know.
be
I just a
alone.
little joke. Just a little
I know, I
joke.
know.
You
Is
know,
that
so
that
then, but
vulnerable?
once there's that connection that you feel loved, etc., we are going to grieve because it's not, we are fallible.
Yeah.
We are going to make mistakes,
Wow.
you know, and because of that, we will always feel that sense of emotional
Mm-hmm.
hurt, or we feel that sense of emotion because of the grief, because of the emotions, because we got hurt. But can we run for it? No,
Oh.
because the brain needs connection.
Mm-hmm.
Connections on the inside, on the outside, builds connection on the inside.
Mm.
Yeah. So the more connection we have, the better we are able to build our brain because of neuroplasticity. It is continuously building,
Oh.
growing, forming, connecting. The less connection we have externally, the less we have internally. And that in itself is going to help, affect
Yeah.
our moods, our emotions, whether we become depressed. Because if we choose to isolate ourselves, what happens to us internally?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You understand? It shrinks the brain. And so it affects our mood. It affects our hormones. So a lot of things happen as a result of that.
Wow. And what are some signs? Like, you mentioned everything so much as to what we go through, the different stages. But when we see individuals who are carrying that unhealed hurt, what are some signs? I think you mentioned depression just now
Yes.
as one.
So we have depression, but before we even go to depression, I like to go to sadness
Okay.
because we do not get to depression overnight.
Okay.
Yeah. So we experience hurt,
Mm-hmm.
we loved, we grieved, we feel the emotions, which
Yeah.
one of the emotion being hurt,
Yeah.
sadness. So you might feel sad. It's natural, what we call a trigger. A trigger meaning something occurred.
Mm.
So I was hurt. Because I was hurt, I feel sad. Naturally, you may
Mhm.
not want to eat.
Mhm.
Think about you. You
Mhm.
don't want to eat that night, or you have decreased appetite. You're not eating like you're accustomed of eating.
Right.
You toss and turn. You cannot sleep like or you sleep too much. You find yourself sleeping because that is the way the brain is able to escape from the hurt.
Mm-hmm.
The pain. Sometimes the brain has its coping mechanism. The way in which coping mechanism is the way we deal. So you sleep a bit more, or
Mm-hmm.
you cannot sleep. You
Mm-hmm.
eat, or you eat too much. You don't eat, or you eat
Mm-hmm.
too much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you feel hopeless. I cannot do it. You look at the world and you feel the whole world is hopeless. You don't see any way you're gonna come out of this situation.
Mm-hmm.
You do not have the desire to do things like you used to do.
Right.
So getting out of bed, you shower, you make your bed. Let's start with the basics.
Yeah.
You have difficulty doing the basics, and then you feel sad. You're tearful. So when we talk, so we differentiate sadness from depression. Sadness, something happened, I'm supposed to be sad. That is normal. I like to tell my clients, it's normal if something happened and you feel a certain way. If you do not feel a certain way, then I worry
Mm.
because I'm expecting a reaction because you felt a certain way.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
So sadness happened. But how do we know we are moving on to depression? Every single day for 14 days, I feel sad. I am eating, I'm not eating, I'm eating too much. I'm not sleeping, or I'm sleeping too much. I feel hopeless. I feel helpless. I do not have the desire to do things that I previously enjoyed. I also have thoughts of harm.
Wow.
Yeah, so we are increasing because if you feel sad
Yes.
and you feel hopeless and you feel helpless, what is the point of
What is
living?
left? Right.
What is left to live for?
Right.
So the thoughts is going to be, um, it's best. Things are going to be better without me. You understand? So at the end of the day, the thoughts gets there. You find you have those 5 out of the 7 symptoms
Mm-hmm.
for 14 days. Every
So 14
single day
days is
for
a
14
marker.
days. Yeah, is the marker.
Mm.
Then we are heading to depression. But guess what? There are different levels
Of
of
depression. I was
depression.
just gonna say that.
So
Yeah.
because you have mild,
Mild
you have moderate,
and
and you have
severe.
severe. So in mild cases, you come to your counselor,
Yeah.
you talk about it, we identify what is the source of the issue, and we deal with it. We come up with different
Yeah.
mechanisms, different ways in which we can cope, and we're good to go. But you have situations where maybe we do not want to talk about it because the taboo, the discrimination, the stigma associated with reaching out to someone, or in the Caribbean, don't tell people your business. So then at the end of the day, you keep that to
That's a big
yourself,
thing.
and then you figure, okay, I'm not going to tell anybody anything about it. So
Right.
what we do not know is the time is passing by, and then from 2 weeks, it becomes 3 weeks. So the duration, the length of time that you've been that way manifesting those 5 symptoms, it has increased. Yeah. So as a result of that, we go into the other stage.
Wow.
Yeah. And at that stage, remember, where you would need a counselor, now you need a psychologist. You need somebody who would be able to identify. Maybe you may need a medication as a result because you have a hormonal imbalance.
Right.
You don't deal with. So every time we choose not to deal with the issue at hand, it gets worse with time, and the intervention is more severe.
Wow.
Can you differentiate what is a counselor and what is a psychologist? What's the difference?
Well, the different roles.
Mhm.
Because a counselor might just be one that you talk to that basically gives guidance. But then when we have a psychologist, that person would tend to more give a diagnosis.
Right.
You give a diagnosis, you do
Okay.
more therapeutic intervention.
Okay.
Some may be able to prescribe, but most times it is really the psychiatrist
Psychiatrist.
that would be able to
To
do that.
prescribe.
Yeah. But you have some psychologists, like the clinicians, they might be able to do it, but that is primarily
Okay.
done by the psychiatrist.
Okay.
So different level requires different intervention. That is why it's important to have a support system. You understand? People who know you, people
Right.
that we could be our real self
Yes,
with,
yes.
because so many people wearing makeup around. And you would feel like, boy, you're looking good. But deep down, that is the mask
Yeah.
Yes.
that is used to hide what I feel inside. But because human being has the tendency to judge people externally,
Yeah.
then we believe, okay, well, you're all
Yeah.
good because you look the
Yeah.
part, you
True.
act the part,
True.
you speak the part, but are you the part?
So true.
You understand? Are you the part? No, you're not. You're falling to pieces.
Yeah.
And then you see at work, they function because work becomes the coping mechanisms. Meaning, I am at work, I have functions, my duties to do, I get it fulfilled. But if they should let you into their home, you realize that space, clothes on the floor, dishes has not been washed for a while, the children, you see
Yeah,
what
you
is
see what's going
happening,
on.
but people don't get the chance to do that because everybody is monitoring and evaluating people externally. So besides depression, you have anxiety. You understand? You are very anxious about things that are not real. You're anxious about things that may never happen. Because remember, the brain is not safe. When you're grieving from the brainstem, the prefrontal lobe here that is responsible for executing of tasks, problem solving, your personality, that is affected during the time of emotional disturbances. So you are just basically a robot doing things, but sometimes you're not even aware. Your mind is not clear. So at that point you have anxiety,
Right.
you have depression, like I said, your mood, maybe it might not even go to the point of depression, but your mood is unstable, you're easily angered. Any little thing and you're angry, but what happened now? No, it's not about you, sister. It's because the person has things going on, and sometimes we have to evaluate, did I do anything? And if
Right.
you did not do anything, don't take on the garbage.
Right.
It has to do, the person have their own thing going on. Just today, I told my friend, people have so many things going on in their lives
Yes.
that we just need to be kind.
Yes.
Because just waking up in the morning, It's a lot for some people, the amount of things that they are going through.
Yes.
And I also mentioned that we go through different stages, and each stage comes with its own challenges.
Right.
And my challenges, or basically the way by which I solve conflict or I deal with issues, my emotions, my hurt, may not be yours. You can give me guidance, but at the end of the day, it may not work for me at all. And I have to figure out in my time, how am I going to deal with
That's
it?
it.
You understand?
Mm.
So you have isolation taking place, you have anger taking place, easily angered, easily agitated. The person is not sleeping, the person is not eating, poor concentration, functionality. Are you
Functionality is
that is the
impacted.
word. You are unable to function as a result of the hurt. So a lot of different pieces of you. You may not want to go to church. You're angered with God because you're like, I pay my tithe. I go to church regularly. I pray. So why did he leave me? I am faithful. Why
Right.
did he leave? Why did he choose? I dress the part. I am beautiful. I'm intelligent. I bring the money. I'm always home serving the family. Why did he leave? But God, why did you allow him
Yeah.
to do that? So then the connection with God too becomes an issue.
Facts.
Right. Right. Right.
So you see so many dimensions.
Yeah.
It's not just physical, it's physical, it's psychological, it is spiritual. Our holistic being is being affected as a result of hurt.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
No, this is how I'm feeling too. I'm here like,
I'm digesting it and
yeah,
taking it in because you just started as you go down the line, you start also looking at, probably certain things with your own life
that's
or certain things
exactly.
that you have seen around you. And because you
Yeah.
don't know the extent of what is going on, it hasn't been addressed properly. And then you realize, okay, probably it may not be that, but what if, it is actually that? So then that brings me to the question, why are there wounds after so many years
Unhealed
that
wounds.
still stay with us when they're undressed? Like why? Like
What's the last word that you used?
the wounds that stay with us if
Because
they're unaddressed.
that's
That's
the word
why.
right there.
So that's why they stay with us because they are good
That's
thing.
the word right there.
Good
It's
thing.
because how do we cope? We have coping mechanisms. When things happen to us, the brain has to be able to deal with it. The brain does not know how to deal with it. So it has to come up with mechanisms, simple with ways to deal with what is happening. Sometimes it's so big that the brain cannot deal with it all at once. You understand? It's
Yeah.
too much. We'll head to mental health. Somebody would have to call for us because it's just so much. So the brain has to go in preservation mode. What does it do? It redirects. People might end up cleaning house, taking on other jobs. Some might use dysfunctional behaviors. They smoke, they drink, they party.
Or they shop.
You understand? They shop.
We
Oh
all.
my God, we women, we like to shop.
Sorry.
So we shop and we shop and we shop.
I don't drink, I
Anything.
don't smoke, I shop.
I shop because at the end of the day, you
Yeah, no,
redirect
yes.
anything to prevent me from
dealing
dealing with
with
the
it.
reality because I'm not ready to deal with it. I don't know how to face what is happening with me.
Right.
So as a result, I have to do something in between. If I am idle, I'm going to think about it.
Yeah.
But if I'm
Facts.
occupied with other
Facts.
things,
Yes.
then it prevents me, at
Yes.
least it keeps me until I believe that I can deal with it.
Wow.
And slowly by
Listen.
slowly, you deal with it.
You hit the nail so much on the head. I believe in one of our episodes before that we did, I mentioned like even scrolling on social media. Yes, it's addictive. We know that. We know they created to be addictive, whatever. And I said on that episode that like the scrolling, it takes my mind. My mind is in a bubble. I don't think about whatever is going on. So I realized too that it's a coping mechanism for me. And then also what it makes, like dealing with stuff or grieving. Now that I learned that I have a lot of grief, but anyway, it like even not wanting to pray, because when you start to pray and stuff, you remember some of the things are, because you may even be thanking God, because you remember the things that He's taking you through. So sometimes that's a cool. I don't want to deal with it right now. So then I end up not praying
Mm-hmm.
because it will take me back to that place. It's so no.
It's isolation, it's a
Yeah.
defense mechanism. The brain can only take a certain amount at a certain time.
Jesus.
So then we have to, we call it redirect. So you get it to something else and not what is actually taking place, so that you are able to cope. You have to function.
Right.
So tell me, if you have all this thing happening to you have the children there,
Mm.
you have work, you need the money, right?
Mhm.
You have to, there are things that needs to get done. Church, you have different
Yeah, yeah.
position,
'Cause the world
people are
doesn't stop.
counting,
It
the
keeps
world
going.
doesn't stop
It
for
keeps
our
going.
pain.
Mhm. Mhm.
So at the end of
I
the
like
day,
that.
yeah, no, I learned that
World
long.
doesn't
Like, the
stop for our
world
pain.
does not
You
stop
don't
for
wait for
your
it to
pain.
catch up.
No, 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 no. So you have to figure out, how am I gonna get this thing together? I
Right.
have to redirect my energy, my focus to something else. So that is where you find yourself overindulging in different things. And if we're not careful, it starts innocently. You spoke about scrolling. So we start, and yes, it happens. Week 1, yes, you can scroll. But if week 2, you are still scrolling, and at the end of the day, you're not sleeping, you're not eating, you feel hopeless, you feel
I sleep and
helpless,
I eat.
you have all
Yeah.
those things
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
But even
True.
if you have 4 or 3,
Yeah.
but as time
Yeah.
passes
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
by,
No. No.
it
No.
increases,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
we are hitting rock bottom.
Wow.
And that's where burnout takes place. So what we do, I like to say, we sweep it under the carpet. We pretend that it does not exist. We redirect. We occupy our time with so many other things, and then we attain a new normal.
Mhm.
But we are not functioning. It's abnormal functioning that is taking place because we have not dealt with the situation. So, because I haven't dealt with the situation, what would take, normally they say grief period about 3 to 6 months to at least being able to deal with it. I'm not saying you're going to conquer it, but at least be able to function again. I will give it about 3 to 6 months, and then you're able to pick up yourself. Baby steps, not the steps, the big adult step that you're used to making, but baby steps. You're advancing into getting yourself there. You will miss the person, you'll cry occasionally, but you are still able to function. The main word is functioning.
Wow.
Yeah? But at the end of the day, when we sweep it under the carpet, what happened? Time goes by and it's delayed. So where I supposed to be back working, I'm still calling SAV to get extra time, and we are still in that stage 1 because I never dealt with the
it.
grief, the pain, the loss.
Wow. Wow.
And that's what happened. We did not deal with it. The longer we choose not to deal with it, and we are going to experience the hurt. It is going to hurt. Remember, I grieve because I loved. So you are going to, because if I do not grieve, that means there was no attachment, there was no connection. Of course, before it turned sour, it was good.
It was sweet.
It
I
was
thought so. It was
sweet.
sweet.
It was
Those great
real
memories.
good. Yes,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
turned.
Yeah.
So I have to grieve that
That
phase.
Yeah.
But people cannot deal with it. And don't get me wrong, you have to go at your pace.
Yes.
Yeah, but we have to know that we cannot remain at that stage for too long, because it is linked with the likelihood of turning into a mental issue.
Mm.
Mm. Sorry, Dr. Carol. This is a lot. I think both Katya and I were here like digesting. We're also assessing in our minds,
Yeah.
and I'm just here taking it all in. Really, I'm just here like, and a lot of times I'm like, and sometimes I'm
Yeah.
feeling like I'm gonna get a little emotional as well.
Yeah.
I was
But
like, I'm just thinking, can I sit on your couch just one day and just stay there and tell you about everything that I Go ahead.
yeah, for real, because even, like I said, in the beginning when she started to talk about the grief, and that's why I was like, okay, but what if it's just like words? Are you really grieving? But then,
There's
it's like the
loss.
attachment
Yeah. Yeah.
as well, you're attached, and the love, and so on and so on. So, okay. No, we know about getting counseling, therapy, and all of that. And,
Mhm.
we always talk about doing the work and so on. But what role would you say that forgiveness, unforgiveness plays in healing? Because, like you said, it's hurt and grief. What role as a psychologist? Do you think it's important, forgiveness, unforgiveness? And what role would you say
Well, we have
it
to look
plays?
at what happens when we do not forgive.
Mm.
What happens when we do not forgive? We remain.
Okay, before you get into that, define forgiveness.
Forgiveness is basically being able to release the person of the hurt that they caused you. Basically, I release you. Me releasing you does not mean I forget.
Mhm.
I'm always going to remember
Of
what
course, that's
happened,
a memory.
but the impact
That it
that
has.
loss
Yeah.
had on you as time
Yeah.
goes by, it is not the same. It does not carry the same intensity that it did before.
Mm.
You understand? So you know that you are forgiven. You know that you have forgiven the person because you can still interact.
Mhm.
At some time you might say, hey, I really cannot engage right now. I need to, and it's normal. Self-preservation, because you know what that interaction will do to you. But at some point, you can converse. Hey, when you did that, I felt hurt.
Right.
I felt betrayed. I felt and I felt and I felt. I forgive you, but that doesn't mean forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation.
I heard that
It doesn't. It
online,
really
I
doesn't.
think maybe a few years
I
back,
agree.
and I always remember that line.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we think that, oh, because we forgive, we should be chum buddies again, that it needs to go
No,
back
no,
to how it
Well, I
was.
no.
think, but I think that's why many people, because they don't understand what forgiveness really is, because I think that's why many people choose not to forgive,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because they feel it means reconciliation,
No,
or we might have to,
forgiveness doesn't
right?
mean reconciliation.
Heard that,
Forgiveness
folks?
doesn't mean that, hey, because I have forgiven you, we are back hand
Correct.
in
It
hand.
doesn't.
No, it
Correct.
does not. Forgiveness means I realize that this has had an impact on me and I have to release it in order for me to move on.
Right.
Forgiveness is not for the other person, it is really for you
Mm-hmm.
so that you could move on and you do not stay stuck.
Yes.
So you do not want to be stuck because you're not able to move forward in your process,
Right.
in your journey. So I am releasing you through that hurt so that I can move on, so that I can continue functioning.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we stay stuck, we hold on to it. When we hold on, what happens? We are angry. Every time we hear the
Yeah.
person name, you're
Yeah.
angry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So who is it affecting?
You. Me?
Because your blood
Me?
pressure goes up,
Yeah.
because it
True.
affects your
True.
heart,
Me? Your
because
pressure.
it affects your sleep, because it affects your eating.
Mm-hmm.
So who is it affecting really?
Right.
It is affecting me. When I release you, I'm making room to begin the healing process.
Right.
And it is going to take time. Healing doesn't mean at that same time all is forgiven and all is lost, all is forgotten. That's not what it is. So just because I forgive you, that means I forgot everything that you didn't know. Occasionally, you're going to grieve. You're going to cry. You're going to get angry. You might say, I forgive you, but whatever. And then you realize, I forgive because I need to heal. I need to let go. I hold on, I hold on, I hold on, I hold on.
Mm-hmm.
It's not helping you.
Yeah. So forgiveness, you would say, does play a crucial part
It plays a
in the
crucial part
healing
in the healing process. That is where healing begins. Healing begins when
with
we forgive.
Wow.
So from the moment I forgive you, I am actually saying I am ready to begin that healing journey. I hold on to
that's
it.
powerful.
You cannot move on without
That's
you
powerful.
you heal, you forgive.
Yeah. And I mean, with forgiveness too, some people do end up reconcile depending on what the situation is, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that that's
No,
always the case.
forgiveness doesn't
Yeah. And I
mean,
think I
yeah, it
I
does not
want
mean
that to be correct.
reconciliation. It doesn't mean because I forgive you, we are back being buddies again. No, it does
Right.
not mean that, hey, we are back husband and wife. No, no, no. There is still a healing journey
Right.
that has to begin,
Right.
but that is the initial step towards that healing journey.
Now, would you say that forgiveness is a choice?
It is a choice. It is a choice that you have to make. It is intentional. It has to be very intentional. I choose to forgive. Because who else is going to do it for you anyhow?
True. True.
That is very true.
Nobody else is going to do it for you.
That's facts. No, is it, what would you say? Is it a process or it just because you say no, I forgive you, then boom, I forgive you?
No.
Would you say forgiveness is a
It's a
process?
process and
Okay.
it's a journey.
Hmm.
I prefer
I
to
like
look
that
at
word
it as
journey.
a
Yes.
journey.
I was
It's
just
a
gonna say
journey
that.
because within on that road, they are going to have highs, you're
And
going to have
lows.
lows, you're going to have a lot of bumps. You're gonna go through the grieving process where, I can't believe you did that to me. I forgive you,
Right.
but I really
Right.
cannot believe.
Yeah.
But if you didn't do that, we would not be there. Whatever. Yes, you forget, but you will remember. After all, the brain has a way of bringing everything, or probably the person did something and they're like, and then you have to
Or you get
remind,
triggered by
you
something.
will
Yeah.
be
Trigger,
triggered.
yeah.
That's
Yep,
the
yep,
word.
yep.
You are going to be triggered by different things. So, and it is normal. It is normal to be triggered. It's normal to grieve, even if after you are forgiven. It's really normal, and you have to allow yourself to go through it. And we cannot say, "Oh, but I forgive you, so get over it." Oh, I forgive you, but you're not supposed to say that. Oh, I forgive you, but why are you bringing that up again?
Because we love to do that.
Because we love to do
Yeah,
that.
so
But
true.
we can't do that
Correct.
because my journey is not your journey.
So true. So true.
We all have different journeys to go through in that same process. So look at it that way. You live within the house, a household. You have mother, father, children, different age, right? You have probably one that is 10, you have one that is 15, you have another one that's 21. They are all going to grieve the separation of the parents differently because they are different stages. The 10-year-old may not fully understand. All they know is that I want my mommy and I want my daddy. And why is it that we're not celebrating birthday together?
Yeah.
The adolescent going through their own issues, their developmental stage,
Correct,
hormonal
correct.
issues, etc. They have the abstract reasoning better. They are able to interpret the situation. Well, my dad wasn't faithful with my mom, and I don't want him in the house. You get me? The adult one might choose isolation because, hey, I'm working, I'm making my money. Yes, he did whatever. I really don't care. Then it's because daddy did and mommy did that, so daddy had to do that. And I'm working and I don't care and I'm out of the house. Everybody
That's
grieving
true.
differently. The little one might go back to bed wetting. You understand? So the younger you are, you regress in behaviors.
Wow.
Things that you actually went through and you're supposed to have conquered at that developmental stage, you might regress because you're grieving. The younger you are, the abstract reasoning is not there. It's more concrete. So at the end of the day, things, you are unable to say what is happening, to connect, to explain what is happening to you. And that way, the body in itself goes back and it does the work for you in regression, using regression.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
I mean, I know at the beginning we said this was going to be deep, and these are deep words. But this is deep and this is a lot.
Yeah,
Honestly,
so
for me
that's-
personally, it's a lot because, like I said, you just
Yeah.
yeah.
okay. No.
Yeah.
It's good. It's a good conversation, and I believe that it will help a lot of our viewers and helping us and
Yeah.
save
Yes,
seat
course,
as well.
of course.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You know, I see Kathy brain working, my brain working. We're listening so intently. But no, talking about healing, forgiveness, unforgiveness, etc. In your experience, is it harder, easier for people to forgive others or forgive themselves? Like, do you find a lot of people find it hard to forgive themselves? Because I mean, we're not always the one getting hurt. Sometimes we do hurt. Sometimes we make some poor choices, and they have certain repercussions, etc. In your experience,
It,
is
it
it?
depends.
Mm-hmm.
It depends because we have our expectations. Some people, they have the expectations of what they wanted. Let's say we're talking about a relationship. Most of us, we go into a relationship with a frame in mind of how we
Yes,
want it,
true.
how we think it's supposed to be.
True.
And when it does not work out, professional women, for example, we have so many roles, so then self-blame comes in. If I was home, if I had spent more time, then that would not happen to the child, and that could happen. But then a lot of people, they have difficulty looking at themselves internally, doing the introspection, or they are not able to do introspection because they were never taught how to do that. Because if you look at childhood, sometimes a behavior occurs and then, the parent just says, hey, go to your room. Or well, not all time parent. I don't want to say it like that. Well, let's go to the 70s babies. Which I'm there. So at the end of the day, basically, there's no, okay, why did you do it? What could you have done differently?
Right.
That
That's
thought
true.
process. But instead, go get the belt.
Mm-hmm.
And then you whip the child down, but the child does not
Does not
even know
understand
what
why.
happened so that the behavior does not repeat itself. So at the end of the day, that child can only be a child for a certain period of time.
Right.
You grow, and then when you grow, what happens? You do not know how to introspect,
Yeah.
to evaluate your behavior, to know what could I have done differently? What are the areas I went wrong? What are the areas I went right? It is not something that you just get. You understand? So at the end of the day,
Has to
what
be taught.
happens? I don't look at myself, I look outwardly. I
Right.
blame other people because I never knew or I do not know what it's like to do introspection. People can't give you what they don't know.
That is true.
So we go into relationships, etc., and we're expecting people to know, and we forget that
That's true.
they were socialized a certain way, and hence they are only bringing to the table what they know.
What they know. What they know.
Yeah. So then I redirect, what we call redirect, and I blame you, but I haven't looked at what role did I have to play in it. The role might be minimal, but that does not mean
Mean
that
that there
you
was a
did not have
Wow.
a part in what happened.
Wow. Wow.
So I see more people doing the blame, the redirecting, instead of looking internally. But I do see a lot of our professionals, people like myself, who are professionals, women, we tend to blame ourselves because we are looking at my child is not going to school because my marriage is failing because I work
I
long
think we put
hours.
a lot of
You know,
pressure
we
on
put
ourselves as
We
women.
do.
we do, but
We do.
society places a lot
I
of
agree.
on us
I
too.
agree.
And something that I always say interestingly is that we life has evolved, and with that, women are now out there. But um nobody has really evaluated what influence us being out there really has on the family. Because you have to be the wife, you have to be the mother, you have to help them with their schoolwork, you have to clean the house, you have to fulfill your work at work, at church, probably in the community.
Right.
You need to find some time for self-care. We are all busy seeing the money.
Yeah.
Like, okay, the woman is working, that she's getting the money. But then I don't think the male, basically, and I'm not hitting male, okay, guys? But I don't feel like we have taught the male that, okay, now that the wife is out there making more
Right.
money, then you have to try to come help inside. So although women are out there, when they get home, they still have to fulfill all these roles within the home.
And Dr. Carol, two things that you mentioned there that brought a lot of things back to my memory with certain discussions that we had. Going back to the one with the introspection and how it was back in the 70s. I had this discussion with a couple of my teacher friends. I think maybe like a couple weeks ago. and they were discussing certain things that they saw in school versus what we had growing up. Where, let's say, for example, if something happened at school and I come home and my mom knows about it, the first thing she would say is, okay, so what happened? What was your role that you played? Okay, I understand. I hear what this happened, but she's like, okay, so what did you do or how did it start? And then you sit and you go back and you check in like, why? Okay, you know what? It started by this. I did this little thing, and that kind of set the teacher off. Versus now, what some of them see a lot in the classroom is that the parent comes and say, okay, so what did the teacher do? So the child now is like, okay, I don't have a
Accountability.
responsibility because it's not about me. It's about what teacher do. Like, okay, so what has the teacher done? What did teacher do? And that was something they were discussing with the difference that they realized. So when you mentioned that introspection part, that actually came back to my mind in terms of how we were raised going back then.
Yeah, and it enables the behavior, and you
Correct.
loses
then-
accountability
But
because
then worse,
it's
some
always
parents,
somebody else.
the children go home say one thing to the parents, and then some
Correct.
parents come to the school and want to fight the teacher. They
that's
even come to
exactly
get
it.
the other side.
That's exactly
So what
it.
happens
As
because
well.
you're only a child
Yeah.
for a certain amount
Correct.
of years?
Correct.
That behaviors you become conditioned to
Right.
that
Parenting
behavior.
serious,
So the
y'all.
more you do that thing, the more it becomes part of you. The
Yeah.
more you
Yeah.
believe that that behavior is okay,
okay.
and eventually that becomes you.
And then the other one too that you mentioned too as well in terms of the home dynamics. I remember this was a discussion that I think it was during the pandemic when we had that lockdown. Certain groups were created, and that's where women was really talking about the traditional role of women versus having the women that are in the working field. And those were some of the things that they mentioned as to some of them why they chose to be more on the traditional side of not going out there and working, and why some of them decided to have that type of mix, as well as men were in the group and they were stating what some of them would rather. And you heard the whole thing. So when you mentioned those two things,
Yeah.
it brought back
Brought
those
back,
two
yeah.
discussions to my mind as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, parenting is serious, y'all.
It's serious.
And
It's not
teach your boys to help.
teach
Your
that's
boys to
very
help. Teach them from now to do the chores, because
Right.
what happens too sometimes, like let's say if you have boys and girls, like children, you focus so much on giving the girls the chores and stuff like that, and then you
So
don't
very true.
the boys. My son does do chores.
Yeah, but then
He
how
better.
how are they supposed to be
Exactly.
husbands? Because
Exactly.
two people are
Yeah.
going out to work. Two people, it's no longer the husband home and the wife home and the husband goes out. Two people are going out to work.
Right.
So the house is going to be dirty. Food need
Correct.
to cook. Homework has to get done. Iron,
Yeah.
wash, etc. We have to teach our
Support,
boys
help and
so that
support.
they are able to support their
Yes,
wives.
yes.
Because then the wives are very tired. It creates frustration,
Yes.
anger, depression. It
True.
affects the dynamics within the home. Then they are constantly
Yep.
easily agitated.
Yes.
Conflicts arise. You get hurt. You divorce.
Wow.
Because the constant bickering.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
see what happens as a result. So it's important to be able to teach them that, hey, you have to go out to study. If
Yeah.
something should happen to me, when you have your significant other, it's not something that they just learn or they just get.
Right.
It is something that has to be reinforced over and over again so that they become conditioned, they get used to doing it.
Right.
You understand?
Dr. Carole, this conversation it could take us here for the whole entire episode. But I know as we start to wind down, what are some practical or important healthy ways that we can implement boundaries that could assist with our healing and forgiveness process? What are some healthy practices that you would think could help us with those boundaries of our healing and
But
forgiveness
the
process?
first one would be forgiveness. Yeah, forgiveness has to be number one. We cannot begin the work. We cannot begin the journey if we have not forgiven.
Right.
So the first step is forgiveness. You have to forgive the person. That is where healing begins
Right.
with the forgiveness of the person. Then we have to do our internal work. What do I do now to fill my cup? Because I cannot give from any cup. I need to give from my overflow.
Woo.
Mm.
You got that?
Yes.
Yeah, just today I had to
Got
remind a
that.
colleague so that, yes,
Yes.
you have your internal cup.
Woo.
You can't give from your internal cup, girl.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
got to store that for you. You need the external cup, and
Right.
it needs to be overflowing. Remember the word overflowing.
Overflowing.
That's what you give. Every time you give from your external cup, it becomes less.
Mm.
So you need to always be putting into there. How do you do that? You do that through self care.
Mm-hmm.
One of the ways that works very well during grief, loss, pain,
Mm-hmm.
it's journaling.
Yes. Yes.
That's
Yeah.
Kathy's
I
thing.
journal. That is
Yeah.
that is my thing. I go
Yeah.
by the seaside. I journal.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
Journaling means you're emptying your mind.
Yes.
Whatever that is there, you just remove that, girl, and you place it there on paper.
Mm-hmm.
That's what journaling does. You know, besides journaling, you, and not just the journaling, but the journaling. And if you're one that is spiritual, then I like to end with a little prayer
Mm.
where you just lay it at the feet of God, and you just let Him know, this is how I feel.
Yes.
And this is how you could go, dear God, this is how I feel. Just today, I had that conversation with a colleague. Dear God, this is how I feel today. I feel lost. I feel, that's where you could be vulnerable, and nobody is going to judge you. It's just you and your God doing your thing. And you write and you let Him know how you feel. I'm angry, I'm hurt, I'm disappointed. I feel like doing this and then you end, but I give it to you, you know? And then when you're done, you feel that relief from what from just journaling. But it's not just, in addition to that, I would also say that the journaling, the praying,
Mm-hmm.
you listening to music, smoothing music, going for walks, exercising, deep breathing.
Yeah, deep breathing.
Deep breathing is excellent because what happens is that if you look at a newborn, when a newborn sleeps, you see the rise and fall of
Yes.
the diaphragm.
Yes.
But as we grow, with everything that is happening, you see the rise and fall from our chest. When that happens, basically you hyperventilate. Yeah? So something occurs and like, you know why this happened? Because we are breathing from here. We are not doing that deep breathing, it's shallow breathing. Yeah? So now we cannot wait when we experience pain and hurt and fear to do the deep breathing. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
It is something that needs to be practiced. So I normally say you inhale for the count of 4, you hold for the count of 4, you exhale on the count of 4. And you do that a number of times and you feel the release that's going to happen, and you just release. You have affirmations you could use there. I can do this. And you breathe in those words and you let it out. You breathe in oxygen, you exhale carbon dioxide. And you feel your body. You remove the toxins from your body when you breathe. Your diet is also very important. What do we eat?
That
Yeah.
does thing with your mood.
Yeah,
for sure.
because
I've
when you
experienced
eat
that.
too much sugar, you eat too much caffeine, you can cope. It will give you the rise, but then it's going to give you the dip. And the dip is going to come hard. What do you do when you get the dip?
Right.
The mood is going to change dramatically. You eat a lot, you take the caffeine, you can't sleep. Then you have the racing thoughts. You understand? Exercise is another way where we release toxins, where we clear our minds. You understand? Going to church also helps.
Yeah.
Having a support group.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me tell you something. There's a difference between networking and support.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because you network and you have 2,000 people on social media. That doesn't mean that you could even talk to one of them out of the 2,000. A support system is, who can I be real with? Who is going to have that platform where I do not have to have that mask, where I can be real, where I feel that I'm not being judged because I have all these fancy degrees. Even if I have the fancy degrees, I'm human. So I am going to experience grief, hurt, because I love just as much as you loved.
True.
You understand? So then these are some of the tips that I know work. Besides, of course, you've tried those things and it's not working, or you may not have the energy because remember, during the grieving process, you have loss of energy, your mood. You may need to talk to somebody, a professional,
Yeah.
who is able to provide that support and guide you until you're on that road to be able to do those tips
On
to
your
help
own.
yourself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I know we're gonna need a
Wonderful.
part two because I think we
exactly.
run out of time. This
Yeah.
was
Right,
good. This was
right.
very, very good. Thank you so much.
for being here with
We
us.
might have to call you back again because
No, it's
there's a
true.
lot. This was heavy. This was heavy. But as we close out now,
Yes.
we have to close out, So we want to close out with our soulful seed that is like, a little encouragement for our community and maybe ourselves.
Yes, definitely.
So we want to
Definitely
have
for ourselves.
yeah, so we want to
Definitely for
have
ourselves.
Dr. Joseph take it away.
Yeah. Our soulful seed, that healing is not about pretending that you weren't hurt. It's about choosing not to stay wounded forever. And forgiveness is not about the other person. It's about freeing ourselves. You deserve peace. You deserve to heal. And you deserve to move forward, lighter, stronger, and whole. Remember, healing is a journey, and you don't have to walk it alone.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
Very good.
wow.
Yeah.
This has been our episode for today, everyone. And until next time,
Until next time,
stay safe.
Stay
and heal and forgive.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So me know, like,
Yes.
I'm like, it's just part of life's journey. And like you rightfully said, it can really, really build character and make you learn. That's like how people learn, though, is after like something didn't work out, and that's how rules are formed.
Exactly.
Rules and guidelines is like, okay, this didn't work, and so on and so on. So I think, yeah, I don't like it.
No, not at
It's
all.
necessary.
And I agree with you too as well.
Yeah.
Like, having those moments where we miss the mark, where we fall short, that they're important in our lives, and they help to really and truly build character, teach us lessons that if we always got it right all the time. Thank you for sharing this space with us.
If today's reflection resonated with you, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Until next time,
Keep nurturing your soul.
and keep planting seeds of wisdom and love.